I'm Chris Biffle, Coach B, and welcome to another Whole Brain Teaching webcast. If it is November 13th in your world, then you're watching it live. Here we go. Brand new stuff tonight, very exciting, never seen before. Whole Brain Teaching 101. Let me adjust my screen. The topic tonight, whiteboards, PowerPoints, and handouts. We're going to be talking about diagrams. And, my friends, we're going to solve one of the secrets of the ages tonight. Now, you may think I'm exaggerating, but when you see the solution to the secret of the ages, you're going to say, oh my goodness, that guy's not exaggerating. That is a solution to the secret of the ages. And you can search all over the internet. You will not find this solution to the secret of the ages. All right, let's get started with our program. Well, who is this guy? It looks like Coach B. Here's what's coming. Pure fun. We're going to talk about new diagrams for the scoreboard, the volumeometer, timelines, T-diagrams, and essay diagrams. All that you can use on your whiteboard. You can make them on PowerPoint. You can make handouts out of them. And Coach B says we're going to have pure fun with, guess who? The mind giants, my friends. These are our wonderful colleagues who help kids with critical thinking. And we'll be seeing some of their uses tonight, but there are 8 mind giants, and if you throw in Coach B, not claiming to be a mind giant, but I am a cartoon figure, and it feels good. Here we go. The scoreboard. Now there's Biffy Bluebird, and Biffy is always concerned with how we can improve. So let's just look at how to use these mind giants. There's Biffy Bluebird. There's Big Dilly. There's Uncle Louie Trickster Dilly. Kids just use these. They talk to each other or they talk to themselves so they could give themselves a good talking to about how can we improve in our behavior. How can we improve on our behavior? Or how can we improve on our math or reading? That's Biffy Bluebird's genre, is improvement. Let's look at some diagrams for the scoreboard. Now, let me just try this 3D mix. Can you read the scoreboard and see me at the same time? That's my question. You seeing me? Oh yeah. So one thing we can do on the scoreboard, we can add labels to it. So how did we do in the morning? How are we doing in small groups? How are we doing in the afternoon? Yes. Add some variety to your scoreboard. Make a different diagram. If we're talking about diagrams today, we've got to talk about the scoreboard. Here's another variation. You might want to say, we're going to work on Rule 1 or Rule 2 or in general today. You see, already we got 2 variations on the scoreboard. You've just been doing smileys against frownies. There's a lot more that you can do with that. You see the possibilities. We're talking about how to use the whiteboard, the most neglected and powerful piece of technology we got. Here's another one. Scoreboard marks. Now, the longer the mark, the louder the noise. So if you make a long mark, it's a, oh yeah. If you make a short mark, it's a, oh yeah. So you can adjust the volume. What are we doing? Weaving the golden thread of fun through everything we do. The shorter the mark, the quieter the noise. Wiggly marks. My friends, I don't think you know or have used wiggly marks. I'm pretty sure you have it because I just thought it up. A wiggly mark is like this. Let me get in here. A wiggly mark is like this. You only use it on the smiley side so that they can go, oh yeah, get a wiggly in there. They'll be sitting on the edge of their seat. They'll be begging you for a wiggly. It counts the same, but it's more fun. Let's look at blue dubs. I don't think you've used blue dubs either. What's a blue dub? A blue dub is where you make a mark with a blue marker. And when you pick up the blue marker, every blue mark counts double. Oh, that gets them on the edge of their seat. Now, you could combine them, so if you made a long, wiggly blue dub, they'd get to say, oh yeah, twice and be loud. Can anybody dig long, wiggly blue dubs? You with me? Sarah Meter, you're right. Your 6th graders will love to wiggle. My college kids love to wiggle. Never underestimate the motivating power of educational tomfoolery. You can quote me on that. Put that on my tombstone. Here lies an educational tomfoolerist. That's what we want. Here's something else. Many of you know about this. Change the categories. Brian Hopkins, welcome online. Holloman, welcome. Change the categories. Make them seasonally appropriate. Turkey and the farmer. Turkey, gobble, gobble. Farmer, yum, yum. You with me? Danny Lynn, good to have you online. Now, pay attention. Here is the star gag. This is crucial. When the students are doing very well on the scoreboard, they earn a star. 10 stars and they get a special reward. A 5-minute game, let's say, at the end of the week. For the 10th all-important star, build enormous tension by marking one line at a time. Listen to me. Let's just talk about marks and stars. We use the scoreboard for short-term rewards, like a little more time at the coming recess. We use stars for long-term rewards, like at the end of the week. Whenever you get 10 stars, you get this 5-minute game of mind soccer. You with me? Kids like short-term rewards and they like a long-term reward to shoot for. So when they're doing really, really good, you give them a star. Stars are never erased. But now it's that special Friday towards the end of the day and they've been working on the star. You don't just put the 10th star up there. Come on. Early in the morning you put one mark. Give me a mighty oh yeah, oh yeah. Then you put another mark later on. And then you put a mark, but it doesn't cross the line of the first mark. Then you put another mark. You stop right before it crosses each line. That gives you, like, you can drag it out. Drag out marking the star. Then when you're ready to mark that last star, you take your marker, I wish I could show you this, and you run it all the way over to the other end of the scoreboard, and you go up and down, and as you get closer, they cheer, and as you get further away, they grow, and closer, cheer, further away, they grow, and then, boom, you give them the 10th star. Did that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying with the star gag? Okay, Blizzard. Very good. All right, Cruz, you got it. Cruz, you should be having those kids doing backflips. Right, it makes a huge mess, but they love it. And you say, as my line gets closer to finishing the star, cheer. As it gets further away, groan. Or homework roller coaster. Yeah. Go up on the roller coaster. Yeah. When the roller coaster goes down, they're cheering. When the roller coaster is going up, the line's going up, they're groaning because they're afraid, and then down and up and down. Do it right before lunch. And you're right, Buzzley, they have to pay attention. All right, so that's the scoreboard. Let's hit one of my favorite characters, and I want you to start fooling around with Uncle Louie Trickster Dilly. Uncle Louie Trickster Dilly always says the wrong stuff. So here we are on the volumeometer. The louder the better, says Uncle Louie, Trickster Dilly. And Smarty Wonderbeak says, oh phooey, Uncle Louie. So you say to your kids, here's Uncle Louie. He says, the more noise we make, the better. The kids hold up Smarty Wonderbeak and say, oh phooey, Uncle Louie. So you get Uncle Louie to suggest things that the kids shouldn't do, and then they give the oh phooey Uncle Louie. I know you haven't tried that because that's brand new too. Right, Buzzley, have you tried the Uncle Louie oh phooey? All right, so volumeometer. Very important in a whole brain teaching classroom. Over on the right is your volumeometer. So you got different levels. Playground is you make as much noise as you want. Of course we don't want playground. Energetic, normal, spy. Spy is, oh, pretend like you're a spy and you're whispering. And locked is, you got it locked. So you got the volumeometer there on your whiteboard. Let me get in here full screen. Volumeometer on the whiteboard. As you lift your hands, the kids go, yada, 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 yada. And as you bring your hand down, they go, yada, 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 yada. Louder, softer, and then set it at the level you want. That's the volumeometer. And I'm glad Sarah Meter is online tonight because she's got something that I think is even cooler, and you know how that hurts me to admit that. She has the kids, they have a volume control on their neck. So she just says, turn it down. So they go, turn it down. See? I think I added that. So volume control on the neck, a teacher would go, turn it down. And the kids would go, turn it down. And they would lower the volume. How do you like that? Give Sarah Meter a 10-finger rolling woo. I think it's brilliant. So Sarah, we like you, but that's over with now. You need something else brilliant. Remember, our affection is conditional on the very last thing you did. All right, so that's two things we've covered already. Different versions of the scoreboard, ways to adjust volume in class. You could do these as part of a PowerPoint. You can put them on the whiteboard. Here we go. Every teacher, I'm sure, uses timelines, but maybe not the way we use timelines. Here's Dilly Dilly. Dilly Dilly, as you know, is one of the mind giants, and she has those 5 great questions, plus how. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. So when the kids pick up Dilly Dilly, she's asking those questions, and you can ask those questions for a deeper exploration of anything. But let's look at timelines and how Dilly Dilly would work on the timelines. I think when you're talking about a story, just put this timeline up, beginning, middle, and end. And get kids to talk about, see, because when you talk about the story, listen to me, I've done this 10,000 times. You talk about a story, and I don't care whether it's Oedipus Rex, the story of the ill-fated Greek king, or Hamlet, or Goldilocks. You're talking about a story, and the conversation jumps all over the place. Lay out this timeline. Let's talk about what happens in the beginning. Where does that go in the middle? Is that before or after this? What happens at the end? Who, what, where, when, why? Just get the timeline up there. And I'll show you how to use this timeline, my friend. I'm going to show some high-level stuff tonight. Usually I just talk elementary. I'm going to show you how this works in college, and you can boil it down to elementary. All right, so to add to the timeline, or make a PDF, or use these slides that I'm sending you. Who, what, where, when, why, and how, and I put why in blue. Why? Because the why is where your deepest thinking takes place. Why is Hamlet so concerned about his mother marrying his uncle? Why doesn't Hamlet kill Claudius sooner? So when you talk about why, you're getting into motivation. You're getting into non-obvious things. So put this timeline up there. And if you're talking about James and the giant peach, let's just talk about who, and then what, and where, and when, and why. I put the why down at the bottom. Or set it up this way. You're not talking about the whole story. You're talking about 4 chapters in the whole story. Or 4 scenes. Or I think best of all, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Just divide it up into parts. You can divide anything into parts. Now, here's something for my elementary friends. Check this out. So you got the beginning, middle, and end. So now you're just going to talk about problems. My friends, problems are at the core of literature. They're also at the core of nonfiction. What's the author's problem? What's the character's problem? How do those problems change? And you annotate your timeline with different size stars. Oh, a big problem for Goldilocks. She has to get some shelter. And then who lives there? And what about the chair and the porch? And a huge problem for Goldilocks is, how does she escape? So annotate your timeline with symbols. Listen to me. This is huge. You write too much on the whiteboard. Because when you're writing on the whiteboard, you may be opening the window for disruptive activity. Put key words on the whiteboard. Abbreviations on the whiteboard. Then when they teach each other, they have to translate the key words and abbreviations. They're not just reading off your whiteboard. So keep it short. Keep it quick. Give them something to translate in their minds as they teach each other. Bullet points or questions. Let's add some more to this fancy timeline. All right, let's put in locations. Different symbol. Let's put in where the characters go. See, Goldilocks is all the way through there. The 3 bears, well, they just come in towards the end. So you can make these up as PowerPoints. And I would suggest that, listen, it's a chore to make up a timeline PowerPoint for a story, but if you know you're going to be reading it year after year, you've got some other friends who are using it, make a PowerPoint. Boom, boom, boom. Guide the discussion. Then when you do a review, go back to the first PowerPoint and have the kids teach each other. Now, high-level stuff. How would you use a timeline to teach Hamlet? Here it is. Acts 1 through 5. And then you just lay out whatever the themes are, or as we say in college, the leitmotifs. What are the motifs? What are the themes? What are the recurring metaphors? And if you're a high-level teacher, you want to talk about Freud's interpretation of Act 1 or Karl Marx's interpretation of Act 1, 2, 3, 4. You see the power of timelines, the way I've structured them, if you can use it for Goldilocks or Hamlet. J. Cruz, your kid should be eating this up. Sarah Meter, figure out a science way, the different stages of the experiment or the different manifestations in the Earth's crust. You see the richness of storyboard timelines. Let's just talk about who, what, where, when, and why. I'm pretty sure you'll like it, but here's why you should adore those questions. They are the cosmic questions. The question who is about any person. The question what covers anything, where covers any location, when covers any time. Make that time. Why covers any cause or motivation, and how questions about any activity. So there it all is. Who, what, where, when, why, how. The whole kashmil, as we say in philosophy. That's why those questions are so important. It gets to everything. All right. Now, obviously, with timelines, you could make historical timelines. Greek, Roman, Middle Ages, Renaissance. Or 17th century, 18th century. And, oh, I've got a lot to say about the 19th century. And then I'll talk about technology, population, wars, whatever. So, let's sum up on these timelines. You lay the temporal dimension across the top, the timepiece. It can be a century, it could be a chapter, it could be a nanosecond at the beginning of the universe. And then down the side, you talk about the themes. You talk about the ongoing processes. You talk about the characters. And right there on your whiteboard or your PowerPoint, you can build up an incredibly dense description of anything that happens in time. Pretty cool. I don't think you really realize how cool it is. Can I show you something really cool? I mean, like, could I solve the whole problem of teaching American history for you tonight? Anybody teach American history? I think maybe a few of you do. This is not the secret of the ages. But it's very, very good, my friends. Here it is. You may just buy these PowerPoints, these PDFs, just to get this. I'm going to have to zoom in for you so you can see how cool it is. Here we have the 8 stages of American history. This is straight out of a handout I used in my class. 8 stages of American history. Check it out. First of all, let me know, can you see it? Everybody, is this visible, these little teeny marks? A bit blurry. I'm going to zoom in even more. Let me go here. And let me go here. Can you see that? Is that better? All right. Now notice the 8 stages: pre-Columbian, colonial, independence, westward expansion, Reconstruction, civil, early modern, and modern. Please, can I whack crows or eagles Monday? What? I said, please, can I whack crows or eagles Monday? That's my acronym for the 8 stages of American history. P, pre-Columbian. C, colonial. I, independence. W, westward expansion, and so on. Please, can I whack crows or eagles Monday? And then notice what I did. I annotated the timeline, and I threw in some dates. And when I taught it, I showed gestures for all of those. Let's go back. Now, look what I did. Here's what you do with your PowerPoint. Then the next PowerPoint would just have the letters on it. PCIWCREW. Tell your neighbors what that stands for. Then the next one would just have numbers. Tell your neighbors the 8 stages of American history. So let's make this point. You show a dense diagram, you teach it little by little, you make some motions for it, then you show the acronym, and then maybe you just show the blanks. Lots of information, review one way, review even more. I got people out there right now saying they learned more about American history in the last 2 minutes than they did all through college. Let's just get it down, my friends. I'll show it to you again. Pre-Columbian, that's before Columbus. Colonial, independence from American Revolution forward, westward expansion, Civil War, Reconstruction after the Civil War, early modern and modern. And each of those, for example, here's my gesture for First Peoples. It's very complicated. Pre-Columbian, they're the First Peoples. Colonial, oh, puppet masters, see, the British were controlling us. Independence, oh, we're going to take that crown and break away from it. Make it visual, make it fun. And then what you do is, check it out. Then you give them a diagram like this that has all the bits and pieces in there. And this is their study diagram. This is huge. Listen to me. Listen. Anybody out there using maps? Maps or complicated diagrams? Any map people out there? Here's the deal with maps. You do not hand out a one-sided map, a thinking map, a map of the U.S., any kind of map. You have a map with lots of information on it. You teach all the information. I would number the information so that you can say number 1 is this, number 2 is this, number 3 is this. Then on the other side of the map, you've got the information just with the numbers, not the identifiers. So anytime you want, you say, get out your thinking map of cause and effect. Number 1s, you ask the question. Number 2s, you have the blank side and you give the answers. Two-sided maps. Info on this side, blanks on this side to review. Many of you have complained about budget cuts. No one has yet told Coach B that the budget has been cut so severely in their schools that the principal has been giving out one-sided pieces of paper. If you can still get a two-sided piece of paper, use the back side to test for what's on the front side. Yeah. I told you this is going to be good tonight, and I haven't even gotten to the secret of the ages. Now, here we go, another goodie. This was a mainstay of my college career. Compare, contrast, T diagrams. And we're going to use two more of our mind giants, Dee Dee Rainbow and Jack Rainbow. Oh yeah. They are brother and sister mind giants, and as brothers and sisters, they love to compete. And they compete in who can be the most original, imaginative, and creative. Interestingly enough, as important as originality is to me personally, and creativity is to me personally, and imagination is to me personally, we never had a place to plug it into whole brain teaching. Now it's a major theme of the mind giants whenever Jack and Dee Dee get together. They're competing as to see who can be the most original. Here we go. Compare, contrast. I think this is a better compare, contrast diagram than Venn diagrams. Here's how they work. Superman and Batman. Now you say, kids, what can we say about both Superman and Batman? They say crime fighter. So you put crime fighter on one side and an arrow to the other side that says they're both crime fighters. Otherwise, with those Venn diagrams, you got a problem with squeezing everything in. This way, you can just run it down the board. You say, kids, what else about Superman and Batman? Oh, they both have secret identities. Well, what's some differences? Superman, secret identity is a reporter. Batman's secret identity is a playboy. Oh, Superman comes from Krypton. Batman comes from Earth. Superman, and what a massive mistake I have made there. Superman has superpowers, and Batman has the gadgets. Superman has a weakness, kryptonite and Lois Lane. Batman has no weakness. We see that as the differences that define them, And kids don't see that, and that's a fundamental intellectual lesson. And I've found when I put two things side by side, I can see each of them more clearly. That's a huge lesson. Listen to me. If you're talking about the Earth and you talk about Mars, you can see things about Earth and Mars much more clearly if you make a T diagram. If you're talking about Harry Potter and the wimpy kid, put them side by side. Seeing side by side is seeing more deeply. And I'm going to prove that to you tonight. Are you with me, though, on seeing side by side? You say, tell me about Harry Potter. What is there to say? Tell me about how Harry Potter's like the wimpy kid. Oh, Dee Dee Rainbow is creative. She says this. Jack Rainbow is creative. He says this. Now tell me how they're different. You'll get deeper analysis with the side-by-side T diagram. I'm going to prove it to you right now with a lesson on architecture. There's the Roman Pantheon. It was built in 123 AD. It's in the center of Rome, and it held a place for each of the Roman gods on the inside. Now, if I said, tell me about the Roman Pantheon, not a lot to tell just looking at the Roman Pantheon. Here is the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C. Made 1,800 years later. Now, if I said, and you notice it's kind of like the Roman Pantheon. Why? Because the architects of the Jefferson Memorial looked at the Roman Pantheon. And they're going to make this memorial to Jefferson. Now, check this out. Now you're going to say, all right, Jack and Dee Dee Rainbow. Well, what do they have alike? Oh, they both have a dome. They both have a pronaos. My friends, this right here, this sticking out part, this porch, that's the pronaos. This sticking out part here, that's the pronaos. They both have a pronaos. You see, when you tune in on Tuesday night, you don't just get stuff about teaching. You get a high-level college introduction stuff to all kinds of cool things. So let's just go back to this, and you'll see how it relates. So, the Pantheon has an oculus. What's an oculus? That hole up there is an oculus. There's no windows in the Pantheon. All of the light in the Pantheon comes through that big hole in the top, the oculus. The Jefferson Memorial has no oculus. The Pantheon is in a crowded city. The Jefferson Memorial is in open space. And then I began to look at the two. Let's look at them side by side. And this is true. This is true. As I looked at these, I realized something I had never seen before. This was just a day or two ago. Look at this. You see the columns on the pronaos, no columns on the rotunda. Two separate pieces of architecture. So brilliantly, the Jefferson Memorial uses the columns on the pronaos and continues that repetition around and does something amazing. It unites a rectangle with a circle. Listen to me. You've got a rectangle, pronaos, and you've got this big circular dome. And if you look at the Pantheon, it's two separate buildings. But the Jefferson Memorial, oh my friends, unifies those two. And I only saw that because I put those up side by side. Also, look at the Pantheon. It sits right flat on the ground. It had to. It was in the middle of Rome. But the architects of the Jefferson Memorial continued the architecture into the site. The levels of the lawn extend and root the memorial to the ground. So from the top of the dome down to the bottom level of grass, you have this single unified visual experience. Now listen to me. I'm not saying the Jefferson Memorial is better than the Roman Pantheon. I would never say that. But I would say they're different. And by putting things side by side, you can see the differences. Now, I told you, and I'm taking off my glasses. I told you I'd solve the secret of the ages tonight. One of the secrets, not all of them. I don't have time, my friends. I don't have time, my friends, to solve all the secrets of the ages. I'm solving one right tonight. And I don't care. You search on the internet, you will not find the solution because it came from Coach B's brain, many years ago. Check it out. What secret of the ages am I going to solve? One of the greatest secrets. What is the secret of Mona Lisa's smile? Give me an, oh, that's a good secret. Now, lots of people have tried to solve this secret. Lots of people. Let me talk to you about different solutions. They said, oh, she's the mournful mother of us all. Look how sad she is. Other people said, she glows with an inner happiness. Other people have said, she's pregnant. That's why she's so happy, or that's why she's so sad. Other people have said, if you look at the curve of her smile, it's one half of the circle made by the top of her head. What is the secret of the Mona Lisa? What's the secret of her smile? I looked at this 30 years ago and I asked myself this question. I asked, are you ready? I asked a good question. I said, what has Leonardo done so that we cannot tell what the Mona Lisa is feeling? So many different interpretations. What did he do to guarantee ambiguity? Here we go. Now, let's just look, and we're still doing T-diagram, folks. Let's just look at that famous smile. There she is. Study the smile. Study the smile, my friends. Can you see it pretty well on your TV? How's it coming through? Now, let's T-diagram. Boom. Let's look at the left eye versus the right eye. Oh, yeah. Left eye's a little wider open. Right eye's a little longer. The left eye is has a short horizontal corner shadow. I'm talking right here. Short horizontal corner shadow right here. The right eye has an up-tilting shadow. The left eye is neutral or sad. The right eye is slightly happy. Left eye versus right eye. Let's look at the mouth, my friends. Left corner of the mouth. It's horizontal. This left corner here is straight across. Left is your left. The right corner of the mouth goes up slightly, and right here there's a faint shadow that pulls up the corner of the mouth. Right here, the smile is not in the corner of the mouth, it's in the shadow that lifts that corner. Now go back to the screen. Here is left eye. Watch this. Right eye. Look. Left eye, right eye. Two slightly different expressions. Left mouth, right mouth. Two slightly different expressions. Now here's the secret of the ages. Left half of her face, right half of her face. Look at it again. Left half of her face, serious, more somber, but delicately slow. Right half of her face, look at the eye and look at the mouth. That's why we can't understand the Mona Lisa's smile, because she's got 4 expressions in one face. You see that? 4 expressions in a face. If you look at the eye, you get the most happiness. You look at the straight mouth, a long distance away in emotion. So the secret of the Mona Lisa is that Leonardo painted this, wittingly or unwittingly, to portray, on purpose, a mystery that can't be resolved. You can't say what she's feeling based upon where you look. Give me an oh yeah. Yes, my friends, that's a secret of the ages, but more importantly, we used the T-diagram to solve it. So you could use T-diagrams for Goldilocks. You could use it for adding and subtracting fractions, similarities and differences. You really want to get into fractions, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing? What are all the things we need to think about in fractions, all on one screen? You could use World War I and World War II. Or A and B. Use this in your class tomorrow. Dee Dee Rainbow versus Jack Rainbow. Now here's one I prepared just for you, all of you. Here's a Norman Rockwell painting. If you're not using Norman Rockwell paintings in your class, you're not having enough critical thinking fun. Just let the kids look at this. It's called Shiner. There's so much to see. Then show the kids Runaway. You see that? Now, jump into Shiner and Runaway. The kids will be going crazy talking about similarities and differences. A great occasion to practice oral writing, the because clapper, the example popper, the detail adder. Norman Rockwell. More elaborate T-diagrams, dilly-dilly reading. Just put the subject up here and who, what, where, when, why, or how. Here I put in Harry Potter. Who is he? Harry Potter. He's a wizard. He's in London. All right. Now let's talk about essay diagrams. This is what you came for tonight. I know you didn't come for the secret of the ages because you didn't know it was coming. But my friends, we have a new essay diagram that builds upon material we've been working on for weeks. It's at the very end. I'm just going to give you a taste of it. It's called Triple Gold Brainstorming. No more brainstorming the old-fashioned way. That's a mess. But first, let's look at some things that are important in writing. How do you get kids to pick an argument topic? You use this diagram. Look at the diagram. There are 3 kinds of topics, my friends. A topic that's too hard to prove, a topic that's too easy to prove, which many of your kids are writing on, and a controversial topic that needs to be proved because you can argue one way or the other way. Let me show you how this breaks down. This is a powerful diagram. Superstorm Sandy. A lot of people are writing about Superstorm Sandy. Too hard to prove. Superstorm Sandy was the worst storm ever. Don't let kids write about that. Too easy to prove. Superstorm Sandy was a bad storm. Yeah, it was a bad storm. Who needs to argue about that? Understand what I'm saying? Your kids are proving stuff that doesn't require proof. which means it doesn't require thinking. Pro or con? New York City did not receive sufficient warning, or New York City did receive sufficient warning. That's where we want the argument. You can tell if it's a good topic if you can argue either way. Here's another example. Our school. Too hard to prove. Our school is the best school in the world. Don't let them prove that. Our school is a school where students learn many things. Who needs to prove that? Our school is improving at a satisfactory rate. Our school is not improving at a satisfactory rate. Look at me, my friends. You set this diagram up. Too hard, too easy, just right. How do you tell just right? Because it needs to be proved. That's what we mean by an argumentative essay. Let's look at another one. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Nothing could be improved about Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Too hard to prove. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a good book. That's what you're using. It doesn't need to be proved. It's not an argument. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is much better than the Harry Potter series, or the Harry Potter series is much better than Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That's controversial. Now, you don't always have to have pro and con. Look at this one. Slavery was the most powerful cause of the Civil War. Too hard to prove. You'd have to show every single cause of the Civil War, and then you'd have to show that slavery was the most powerful. Too easy to prove. The North didn't like slavery. Yeah, they didn't. Who needs to argue about that? Just right. Northern financial concerns were more important than Southern slavery as a cause of the Civil War. All right, so much for our argument topic finder. Now we have lots of diagrams in the, we have lots of diagrams in the writing game. So download the writing game and just take a look at these. There's a diagram for how to use because, how to use commas, how to make writing sketches, how to brainstorm the old way, how to write topic sentences, how to write dense paragraphs. So lots of diagrams. Now, let's talk about a diagram. Let's talk about a diagram that we're all using, and I think we need to stop using it. Yeah. It's this diagram. Tell me if you're using this brainstorming diagram. So you have the storm and the fires and the flood and danger and drowning and police and all the rest of that stuff, and the kids are throwing out words at you, one after another, after another, after another, and it's a mess to write about that. Check this out. Now let me explain what I've got here. Triple gold brainstorming. You take a topic and you break it into 3 parts. Superstorm Sandy, the flood, the fires, and the power. We have a whole webcast on the triple gold sentence. Kids write a sentence that has 3 parts in it. I like bananas, oranges, and apples. Triple gold Sandy created an amazing flood, serious fires, and people suffered far too long without electrical power. That's the triple gold sentence. Now, here's how we brainstorm. First, let's list all the nouns we can about the flood. Let's list all the nouns we can about fires, all the nouns we can about our other subject, power. Then link an adjective to some of those nouns. Adjective to nouns under fire. Adjectives to nouns under power. Give me some verbs associated with flood. Verbs associated with fires. verbs associated with lack of power. Talk about the senses. What did you see, hear, feel, smell, taste? Make some similes. With this triple gold brainstorming, kids will have not only thought up a lot of information, they will have thought it up in the categories they're going to write about in the body of their essay. And if your kids are just writing about 2 categories or 1 paragraph, break it down into nouns, link an adjective to a noun, give me some verbs, active verbs, talk about your senses, talk about similes, or put in quotations, but divide it under your subjects. This is a new kind of organizer. Yes, Budsley, triple gold brainstorming. Much more about this next week. Give me an awe. All right. So when your kids are working on diagrams, use your Super Improvers team to reward them. And that's how we motivate kids. Now here, if you order the PDF tonight, you get the complete set of Mind Giants with a description of each one to show your kids. Biffy Bluebird, Smarty Wonderbeak, Bobo Robo Dilly, Big Dilly, Dilly Dilly, oh, that tricky Uncle Louie Trickster Dilly. So your kids can say, oh, phooey Uncle Louie. And then the competing creative tandem of Dee Dee and Jack Rainbow. And you know what? You'll also get a picture of me, Coach B. Here's Ms. Linenthal. Gosh, WBT diagrams sound great, but how could I get a professional development credit for this broadcast and a copy of these slides? Ms. Linenthal, here's the information you've been waiting for. Go to PayPal on our website and put in $5.45. I'll show you right where. $5.45, you'll get a copy of all of these slides. But what about a professional development certificate? Got you covered, Miss Linenthal. You'll get this one, and you'll get this one. We do encourage you to pursue certification. Write about tonight's webcast, teaching diagrams, and you can earn 50, maybe even 75 certification points and put it on our forum. Next week, coming at you, the 5 arts of revising. We're going to use that triple gold brainstormer and really show you how to get those kids to revise over and over and over again. In case you haven't heard, here's the huge point. Next year, a new series is coming at you. Series that everybody is waiting for. WBT Common Core. How excited are you that we have a new series called WBT Common Core coming in the new year, 2013. And it's going to be so cool because we're going to set it up as a set of lessons. You just put the PDF in your computer and let me do the teaching for you. First one's going to be a whole lesson on the noun. Good for review. Danny Lynn, even if you're not a Common Core state, you can use these if you talk about nouns. I'll come on screen. I'll say class. Your kids will say yes. I'll say too slow, mighty groan. They'll groan. I'll say class. They'll say yes. I'll say, oh, good job, mighty, oh, yeah. And then I'll just start teaching your kids. You have Coach B, a college teacher, give your kids a college level lesson. That's coming next year. WBT Common Core. If you want more info about anything, including negotiating second mortgages. Actually, we do everything but second mortgages. Go to wholebrainteaching.com. Want me to come to your school or district? Send me an email at chrisbiffle@wholebrainteaching.com. Lots of great stuff coming up for you, my friends. That is some new ideas on how to use your whiteboard, and next week we go back to writing, some tips on revising, how to set it up, how to use the brainstorming. More and more we think that the ultimate lesson we can give our kids is how to write better, because that is their weakest skill and their most important as they advance. Daisy, you're going to have to wait till next week. Oh, obvious tip is you obviously are having kids write on every other line, right? So that then they can put certain kind of corrections on the blank line above. All right, my friends, let the places flow down. Where are you from? Where are you from? Let me know. Warrensburg, Louisiana, Kansas, Ohio, Kansas again, Texas, Maine, New Mexico, South Jersey, New Orleans, Kalamazoo, Winnebago, California still teaching, San Diego, Pittsburgh. Hello, EV Miles. All right, my friends, please do keep us in your prayers. We're going through a difficult time right now. We do need our prayers. Keep them coming, my friends. We thank you so much. So until next time, power to the teachers. Coach B signing off. See you next Tuesday night, my dear, dear, dear friends.